Now I thought I'd seen a lot of stuff on the interior of old cars as I opened them up. You know, the kind that have been sitting in somebody's basement or attic for 70 years. This one is going to rank right up there with some unusual substances that was on the inside. I don't know if it bypasses the boxcar that I found full of black-eyed peas. Yes, stuffed full of black-eyed peas that had been in that train 60 plus years. Kind of a nasty mess. But this one was close. What I'm going to show you is some still photography of a substance that's right over here in the piled up in the corner of the body, that's all over the top of the chassis, that's in the baggage chamber here for the baggage door mechanism. Some rust spots here on the lever. Not much on the solenoid, and even more that up here on the front of the chassis. But as you'll see a close-up, you're going to see a real big pile of something back here that is as loose as it looks. It really was a pile, and it almost looks like metal shavings. Very unusual, but it could be blown out. That's the reason I didn't blow it with anything. It had gone everywhere. You'll also see more accumulated up in here above the door, and then right here you can actually still see this almost with the right camera angle. You're going to see some really unusual pitting along this door frame that looks like some sort of liquid got into this car right there at the bottom of the door frame, and I'm so fortunate that it didn't damage the frame itself. And then you'll also see a backup shot of this, which shows the full extent of this material, which was all over this part of the chassis as well. So it's most unusual. And then there'll be some shots of my starting point on cleaning it up. Nothing very unusual there. Now, what that substance reminded me of, and I couldn't think of anything else, is when I violated the parental guidance of thou shalt remove your batteries from your toys off season or when you're not using them to prevent them from corroding and ruining your toys. Well, I really started following that parental guidance when I had the Bulldog tank set from Remco. I had the big one and the little one, the very first versions of those. And unfortunately, I left the batteries in the big one. One of my favorite all-time toys was that gigantic Remco tank that I kept for a long time, on into the 80s. My own son played with it after I got it to working again. But it had corroded sometime back in my childhood, but fortunately even then I had some knowledge of wiring and soldering and cleaning contact points and things like that. I cleaned it up, got it working again, but I dodged a bullet because I didn't follow that guidance. But that's exactly what this substance looks like. But there's no batteries in this thing. There was not even any batteries in the box, so I cannot imagine what it is. I thought maybe it was smoke fluid, but whatever it did, it apparently just ate away at all this metal back in here where you see those stains. You can see a little bit of those stains. It just ate away at that metal and created that flaking and dust that was pretty disgusting, to tell you the truth. But it took a good bit of just raking it out and vacuuming it out because it was loose, and I had to be very careful not to blow it out. That's exactly what it looked like. That being said, that has constituted most of my use of my time on this. Now I chose, because I want to remove some more of this stain in here, I chose to remove one of the cotter pins on the back side of the solenoid and door assembly on this mail baggage car. I chose to remove the cotter pin that goes right here, goes down through this door and through that eyelet so that I could reach that. And it may give me a little bit of extra space to get to the solenoid, although I'm not going to do a whole lot to it except to pull the spring back. This is what I did on my original one. Clean the solenoid as best I can, push the spring forward, clean the back side of it as best I can, and I might, as I have had good results doing, putting a little bit of graphite lubricant on my fingertip and just rubbing it around the solenoid. I would not recommend using kind of liquid lubrication. As a matter of fact, no lubrication is really needed if these things are clean, but I can't get to the inside of this one because Gilbert created a crimp in that long eyelet structure right there. It holds this disc on, and I don't want to sever that crimp right there. It's just too valuable. So I'm going to pull the spring back after I clean it some, put a little bit of light coating of graphite on there just to provide a little bit of smoothness of movement. Now fortunately I had a replacement cotter pin in my collection because I literally had to snip this one off in order to get it out. But I think it's going to pay dividends in getting back there. So I probably won't show any more video until I get to the point of probably having all that cleanup done, because it's really not that scientific and it isn't that difficult. Although I did notice one thing. I wish Gilbert had attached the mechanism for both the solenoid, the assembly for the solenoid and the male chamber and the door with screws. He chose to attach them with rivets here, here, and here. I probably could have replaced those with screws. I just did not want to drill them out. And I noticed this one on my other mail baggage car. He pinched the wire, which I guess he had to do underneath the assembly. I did notice that if you take a flashlight, you can tell that the solenoid is screwed into the door and chamber assembly. Two screws, one there and one there. So it made it real easy to really break this thing down had that not been like that, but I think it will work anyway. Of course, it's got the cloth insulated wiring. At least it's stranded. This one makes me a little bit nervous because it's been pulled back quite a bit and been exposing the wiring, but I'll see if I can make an adjustment there.